went missing on June 15th of this year, 2021. So she's been missing for just about 4 months. She is from a town called Rogersville, Tennessee. She has 2 parents. Their names are Candace. She spells it kind of funny, Candus. Candace Wells, who was born in 1982, so she is about 39. And Donald Wells, who was born in 1964 and is about 57. And she has 3 older brothers who are 9, 11, and 13. Okay? They all live together. And their grandmother, whose name is also Candace, lives on their property in her own camper. They live on an 11-acre lot in a house that is kind of up on a hill, and it's very like bumpy terrain and lots of forest and stuff. Very, very, very set off from the road. It is rural Tennessee. So, as the story goes, on June 15th, around 2:30, the mother and Summer and a 15-year-old local boy went swimming at a lake in the area. I think it was a lake, some kind of a swimming hole type thing. They were swimming while the mother was waiting to pick up a prescription from the drugstore. And she had given this boy an alcoholic beverage. This has nothing to do with the crime, but it's just information, you know. It was a twisted tea, which I guess is about as strong as a beer, I believe, but he was only 15. And anyway, so while they were swimming, he was in the water with Summer, and she started to drown, but he saved her. Like, no harm, no foul kind of thing. And the day went on, so she went home. Candace and Summer went home after dropping off the boy, and I think it was like 5:30 or something in the evening. The mother, Candace, was outside with Summer and the grandmother, and they were planting some things outside the grandmother's camper. And after a little while, Summer wanted to go inside. So the mother gave him a tour of the house and the outside of the house, and she told him the whole story over again, what had happened. And that's when you got a glimpse of the interior of the house, which was, not to be unkind or to judge, but the inside of the house is kind of unfit for children, not very safe, not very clean. So now let me go ahead and give you some more background information, okay? Because they went out there on social media, they kind of, not blaming them, but put themselves out there for all of these kind of gossip channels to dig into their past and kind of try to paint them as train wrecks, and get views and that sort of thing off of them. So we find out that Don has been married previously. He has 2 adult children and 2 grandchildren. One of his children, whose name is also Donald Wells, has a criminal history. In 2007, he was charged with sexual indecency with a child and served 3 years. Now, according to the father, his son was 19 when it happened, and the girl was 18 months younger than him, so it was more of a statutory kind of thing rather than a, the other kind of thing. But we don't really know, and it doesn't really relate to this case, but it's just one of the things that came out. And Candace also has had previous children that she no longer has custody of, or that she lost custody of long ago. She had a son named Andrew and a daughter also named Candace. She lost them due to abuse. And she wasn't married to the man that she had the children with, but I want to share with you some texts between her and this child named Candace. Candace was in foster care, and she went missing from foster care, I think briefly, and she wound up, in the news for that. She was found. So I'm showing you the picture of that, and now I am going to share with you the contents of the texts. So from the daughter, Candace, she said, "I was adopted at 6 months, put back into foster care around the age of 12, along with my brother. Same name as bio father. I was told my bio mom was a meth head and abused us as babies." So she's talking about Candace Wells. She has a record, not sure if she has one, where she is now, Tennessee, but she has one or a few in Wisconsin for sure. I've never met any other siblings besides my bio. I know as much as you guys. I'm sorry I can't be of much help. This is her side of why my brother and I got taken and her records for Wisconsin. So after she states that, which I believe she posted, somewhere for the public to view, then she posts what she had received from her mother, Candace Wells. So this is what she said. "Well, I was with someone that I thought loved me and wanted a family, but I was wrong, and was with a man who she's saying was abusive, and the other child, we don't have any real concrete evidence of his whereabouts. People have said, it may not be true, but people have said that he was very badly beaten and can't function as a normal person would at this point because of it. Now, I want to tell you about Don's criminal history. I don't want to bore you, so I'll try to make it quick. But he has a criminal history in 3 states. So in Arkansas, between 2006 and 2007, he was charged with possession of controlled counterfeit substances without a prescription and burglary. In Utah, in 1990 to 2001, aggravated assault, interfering with public servant forgery, burglary of a dwelling, and theft. And in Tennessee, where he lives now, in 2020, there was a domestic assault charge made by Candace on him. And at that time, he was charged with possession of a handgun while under the influence. Now, she went ahead and dropped those charges, so that didn't stick. And then, very recently, October 29th of this year, he was charged with a DUI. And then on November 1st, he was charged with violation of probation from the DUI. So that brings him up to present. Now, Candace, she has a past background too. Nowhere near as much as Don does, but when she was in Wisconsin in 2003, she pleaded guilty to disorderly conduct and domestic abuse. So, that gives you some idea. So we're dealing with people with criminal backgrounds and kind of sordid pasts. Now, when I think of rural towns and people living in rural towns, usually the first thing that comes to mind is just, quiet and peaceful, easygoing life. No drugs, maybe some alcohol. Not a lot of crime. Getting away from the city, all that kind of thing, but I guess that is not the way to look at it. Okay, now let's throw something else into this mix. In 2009, Candace, the mother of Summer, so that Candace Wells, she had a sister named Rosemarie. So she was 21 years old. She was married, and she had 2 young children. They were 9 months and 19 months old. And she went out one evening to meet her cousin at a bar for some drinks, which was 5 miles away. And she never showed up. And 5 days later, her car was found in a parking lot, which was like a parking lot where trucks would park their tractor trailers many, many, many miles away. And she was never And if she did it, why would she want her body language analyzed, So it annoys me that Dr. Phil is gonna say, oh, and I've heard him say that before, well, we're just trying to help you and find your child. Like, okay. So anyway, basically what the body language analyst found was that both of them seemed to be, a little deceitful, holding things back. They picked apart the fact that the father suddenly used the word kidnapping when all along he had said abducted, and they seemed to think that was meaningful because they're saying, well, when you kidnap, usually there's a ransom, but when you abduct, there isn't. And I'm thinking, okay, that's a stretch. Like, I don't think so. I think he just used a different word. Okay. And he blinked a lot, so that meant something. That he was nervous. And then Candace. Now, she's the one who really didn't want to be there. And you could tell. So, they asked her a few questions. One of the questions was, for whoever did this, what do you think should happen to them? And she thought about it for like 2 seconds, and then she's like, oh, they should go away, for life, for what they did. So then the body analyst guys are saying to Dr. Phil, would you pause for a second, even if I asked you that question about your child? And he's like, oh no, I'd be like, give me a minute in a room alone with him. So they thought that was suspicious. And then the other thing was that they mentioned something called the Cornbread Mafia. Now, I never heard of that, and probably most of you never heard of it, but it's just a name for the local organized crime people in that region. So, as soon as they brought up this term, Candace, just, started crying, and, her whole mouth contorted, and her nose was running, and all this, and she was done. She's like, get me out of here. She took up the mic, and she's like, I'm leaving. So they wanted to know, what is that all about? Why was that so meaningful to her? And basically that was the end of the first episode, and I have literally told you pretty much everything that went on. So on the second episode, Dr. Phil sits and he talks to the parents and lets the body language guys sit and watch from the audience. Now, I took some notes on the episode, so let me just share with you the things that I jotted down that seemed meaningful. So, he asked Candace why she cried about the Cornbread Mafia, and of course she kind of started crying again. She said she never heard of it before. At least she never heard that term, so, he went ahead and told her what it was, and he said, something about they're very much involved with trafficking of meth, and that there's a lot of meth labs in the area. Okay, so she didn't really have any reason why she was crying, or she didn't give any reason. So now Don told us that his 3 boys because most of the time we're just talking, we're just listening, we're not stopping and imagining the horror of this actual situation. That this little girl, right now as we speak, where is she? What is happening to her? It's awful. I don't want to even think about it. Human trafficking is the most vile thing. Seriously. And when it's of a little child, it's even worse than when it's of an adult. Because they're even more helpless and more prone to injury, you know? So, anyway, what do I think? How do I think this happened? I mean, my brain has gone this way and that way. At one point, I thought that the parents probably went ahead and sold her to somebody. You know, that maybe the father had set up a deal to sell her. Because they had 3 boys. They couldn't sell them, but they could sell the girl. Like, I was thinking that way. You know, because they do have a history with drugs, and, you know, maybe they needed money to pay off drug debts or to buy drugs, or... Although, I don't know if they're still using, okay? I mean, from looking at the mother, you know, forgive me if I'm wrong, but it looks like she might be still using something. She just doesn't appear quite, you know, sober. When you look at her, she kind of looks like she's nodding out a lot of the times. I could be wrong, though. I do not think that somebody accidentally beat her and then tried to hide it, because there's no evidence of that. I just don't think they would be able to clean it up enough, especially in their messy house. Now, some people, the reason why I mentioned the thing about her almost drowning, I meant to tell you that some people have suggested that, you know, hours later, she had dry drowning, which is a phenomenon where you can, like after having drowned in water, it comes back and affects you hours later, and you could die of dry drowning. I don't have 100% details on that, because I don't think that's likely. Because if that had happened, they would have just called 911. Why wouldn't they? Why would they try to hide that? They wouldn't know what was happening. They would just take her to the hospital or call 911, you know? Like, there's nothing, like, shameful about something like that happening. They wouldn't even think about dry drowning. They would just say, what is happening to her? So I don't think that happened. Now, since they came on Dr. Phil, I kind of am thinking that they didn't sell her, and they're not responsible in that way, because if they were guilty in any way, shape, or form, why would they want to put themselves on Dr. Phil and possibly have their daughter found, and then it would get back to them? You know, they wouldn't do that. So I'm thinking they didn't do it. But I am kind of agreeing with Dr. Phil. I've seen like a lot of these TikToks, because Candace is all over TikTok, okay? She's got some, you know, interesting characters that she posts with, and I don't know, are these people getting together, getting high together? You know, I don't know, and I don't want to spread rumors, but if that's the case, then maybe one of these people did need money for drugs and did see an opportunity to come nab their child and sell her. truly, truly do hope that since they posted this show, Dr. Phil, that someone finds her. You know, even if she's been through hell for the past 4 months, still let somebody find her now, bring her back to safety, and help her to heal.